Hi, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over how to start transplants from seeds here in Texas. Now today is Martin Luther King's birthday, January 20th, and that's the day I start them. That gives me about 4 weeks before February 14th or 15th, and that way I have a plant that's about 4 inches tall that I can plant in the garden if the weather looks right, knowing I may have to cover or whatever. Now, first thing is, why would you want to grow your own transplants? And I think first and foremost is just the varieties that you can have. For me, this is the different plants I'm going to be growing this year, and I did make a video on that, and I think I've added another 1 or 2 before it's all over with. So you do get to, if you go to the store, the big box stores can have 4 or 5 varieties, usually at most, and you still get much selection. And a lot of times those varieties have been around a long time because people tend to want to plant the same one every year. But if you're really trying to up your gardening game or whatever, it's good to grow a variety of plants and also continue to grow the ones that's really made well for you, but to also grow some others that may be better that you just haven't tried yet. And to me, the second thing is, once you get set up, it is way cheaper to grow your own seeds. A package of these seeds, even the Sosnair seed, I think it costs $4 for 10 seeds. That's one of the higher price ones. Roaster was still, I think it was maybe $5.99, but I got 50 seeds. Now, in mentioning that, and I guess I'll go ahead and jump to this. When you're buying your seeds, you can get 2 basic types, pelleted or unpelleted. Pelleted varieties do not last well. In fact, if they've been pre-sprouted like the Hosnader, you really want to use them all up in the first year. However, if you get one that's non-pelleted, they'll last you at least 5 years, and I've heard people having them 10 or 15 years. So, as long as you don't let them get wet, you don't get real hot, keep them inside, they'll last a long time. So you can buy a pack and it can last you several years. And so it's just going to be way cheaper. Now, your initial setup costs can be either high or low. You can use anything to start growing them. However, for me, I like the PropTech trays. This is PropTech 162 tray. I'm going to try to remember to put this a link to where you can get these. I'm not affiliated with any of these people, by the way. What I like about these trays is the roots on the plants tend to grow down rather than around, and also have good sized holes in the bottom of them. So with tomatoes, when they're ready to transplant, you should be able to just take and pull them out. But if you do stuff like broccoli, they never really get a good enough root system, so you can take a pencil or something or a stick and push up through it and get them out so you don't mess up the roots. And I really like that about them. And like I say, the roots on the plants will actually come out the bottom of the trays and start growing out rather than growing around. But again, I used you go up there and get those kind of what I call disposable trays, because they're only going to last you a couple of years. And get the little plastic trays, and it comes in get the tray and in the little individual cells. I don't like those really well because the trays come right up next to the edge of the planting cells, and when you do that, you can't really water well, or if you do water, you got too much water in it. These I can water. I know how much water is coming out the sides. But anyway, one of the first things you have to do is what type of seeding mix do you use? It's going to be seed mix. And a cheap one to do if you already bought a lot of stuff is you can just use 2/3 of peat moss, 1/3 perlite, mix that together, take out any bigger pieces in there. That makes a good potting mix. Now, you don't have any fertility to that potting mix. You have to add your own fertility. Where not you're going to use some type of liquid fertilizer I prefer, because when you fertilize them, you want that fertility to be readily accessible to the plants. If you just say, I'm going to use organics, well, organics, even the liquid type of organics, most of those are going to take a couple of weeks to break down so the plants can use them. Now, if you say, hey, I'm going to start using the organics right when I plant them, it'll probably work okay. But don't think that, well, okay, now they're at that true leaf stage, I'm going to start fertilizing them. Well, it's going to take 2 weeks for organics to start be accessible to the plants. So you're going to stretch that plant for a couple of weeks. Now, how soon do you plant the seeds? I plant like I think we said, I plant 4 weeks ahead of time. If you have them in a house situation, they're in the middle of the house, they're away from the windows, or don't have any drafting or whatever, so you should be okay. But if you have one by a window where you can get some drafts, where it may get colder at night, or you try and do it in the garage, 6 to 12 weeks, just depending on that point. 6 to 8 weeks, what most people say, but nighttime temperatures will slow those plants down, slow your germination down. So, do you need heating mats? For tomato plants, if you're growing them inside away from drafts, no. I've done just fine, got good germination without a heating mat. Peppers, you really kind of need one. I don't have one, but my pepper germination is not that great either. We did keep the house, I think, 71 degrees, and thermostat's over there, by the way. 71 degrees, so that's hot enough to germinate tomato plants. And your air temperature and your potting mix temperature is going to be about the same unless you have lights or something on them. So let's go ahead, and the potting mix that I'm using now, and I've tried it a couple of times, I kind of liking it. And I always say don't get potting soil, but sometimes. And this is the Fox Farm, and it's the Ocean Forest blend. And like I say, the other would work just fine. This has some fertility to it to begin with, so I don't have to worry as much about trying to hit it right at the right time. And the way you do it is, first off, you probably don't want to do it next to your living room table. So I got to be a little careful. It would help if this stuff was wet before you get started, but it's really cold outside. I didn't want to try to whip this stuff down and bring it back in. And then if I did that, it really doesn't show. I'm just going to do part of it. I'll do the rest later. And just making sure you get it completely full, because this stuff is fluffed up, so it's going to go back down. Now you will see some big pieces in there, hopefully. How the video is. See, big sticks like that you need to take out. Okay. And then you want to wet this stuff down good. And sometimes you have to wet this stuff down several times. And you need to have it. It would have good to have the sprinkler head on there too. I have used a pump up sprayer to wet this stuff down, but I just don't have one right now. And like I say, you're gonna wet this thing down 2 or 3 times. Probably. I will probably come back on these, because you think, oh, that's wet all the way down. But if we pull that down just kind of wet all the way down. Sometimes you don't get wet all the way down, and after you get down like this, you look there and any big chunks, because if you get a seed like this and you push it down, the seed plant's right there, it's not going to get, it may not germinate because of that. And then you just take your fingers, make an indention. That's where your seed's going to go, is these indentions. So now go use surface house. And then after that, you're going to get the seeds. Now, like I said, there's 2 types of seeds. I'm going to show you both seeds that we got. And first one, and this is Hosinator. And it's a hybrid, and it's a really good producer. And it does produce really well for me. It does the slicing type tomatoes. And here's the good thing about your pellet-sized seeds. I can pick one up, set there, and I can even see where I put it. So I'm going to put all these down here. And I can just get one per tray or cell. I'm even go over here and plant a couple extra. Make sure you tag them. And Haas does, Haas Tools does give you sometimes gives you those tags. I've also made tags, and I use this here to be able to make the tag and make the label, put the label on your plastic stick and set it down like that. And then you will take, what I like to do is take the vermiculite and cover it up with it. And normally I do the whole tray. I don't just do this one at a time. And then you got them covered up. Now, I got those two there, and I planted all the seeds in that pack. Now, go ahead and pick up the camera, and I'm going to show you my trays. My lights. Where we're going to do those. If you hear all the crunching, it's wet. We got a lot of feed in here. This is my seed setup, and the bad thing about them, a lot of junk gets piled on top of them over the years. But here's my two lights. These are just regular shop lights. They're LED lights on this setup. Doesn't get hot. I've got straps here, toe straps where I can, release them here and move them up and down. That don't need to be good. And so you want those lights to be about 2 inches above the tray. So, that's about, I'm going to have to lower these trays a little bit, but you want 2 to 3 inches above the trays when those plants come up. And then keep them about 2 inches above the top of the plants. So that does bring up the point that, okay, if you've got a tray, you want all to be about the same size. So don't put a dwarf tomato plant in a regular sized tomato plant, because then they're going to be unequal. Try to get, as you learn, certain tomato plants will grow bigger. Kind of put those on the outside maybe, or try to get them where they're not going to be shading out the rest of them. Don't put like tomatoes and broccoli in the same setup, or tomatoes and peppers either, because peppers going to take a while. Your tomatoes get taller than them, and they'll shade them out. So make those separate. This here is just a regular baker's rack that you move up and down. These are the things you move up and down with, and that's how I set it up. It's not that hard. This in here is an actual grow light. It is fluorescent, so fluorescence will put out some heat. If you're going to use that and get them very close, you might want to get you one of those infrared thermometers to check for the heat, to make sure you don't get them too hot. Last year I got the peppers too hot, I think I burned them up. But anyway, that's the setup. If you have any questions, just put down in the comments and I'll answer them. Thank you.